Welcome back to the Michael Cohen Show on our continued journey to 250,000 subscribers. We're like 3,500 shy, so hit subscribe, join, watch, share, comment. Extremely important, as every single day, more and more is popping out. Now, look, for months, and I mean months upon months upon months, pre and post-election, Trump has promised that he could solve just about every problem in 24 hours. And I want to concentrate for a second on the Russia-Ukraine war, especially where he made the statements that he'll have this entire thing resolved before or within 24 hours after taking office, that this is easy. It's easy. In 24 hours, he'll have the entire scenario completely resolved. Now, with 1 week left until the inauguration, someone on X put together a compilation of Trump voicing that promise again and again and again. Play the clip.
I would fix that within 24 hours. And if I win, before I get into the office, I will have that war settled. 100% sure. Before I even arrive at the Oval Office, shortly after I win the presidency, I will have the horrible war between Russia and Ukraine settled, and we'll do it quickly. Before I even arrive at the Oval Office, shortly after I win the presidency, I will have the horrible war between Russia and Ukraine settled, and it will settle with Ukraine and Russia. I will get them to settle that war very quickly, even before I become president, as a president-elect. Ukraine and Russia, the stupidity with I will get that negotiated and ended before I ever take office. I'll do it after the election as president-elect. I would get a settlement in 24 hours, and even now I could solve that in 24 hours.
Yeah, could solve it in 24 hours. Well, today, of course, we're 1 week. We're exactly 1 week before. Who knows? He still has, 6 days before which to resolve it based upon those promises made during the campaign. Then Keith Kellogg, Trump's nominee for special envoy to Ukraine. Keith Kellogg goes on Fox News and he outlines a timetable for ending the war. All right? Which varies quite a bit from Trump's 24-hour promise after taking office or even before taking office. Play that clip.
What we'll set the conditions for the president, and then he'll eventually get to a position where he'll be talking to President Putin and also President Zelensky as well. And I think they're going to come to a solvable solution in the near term. And when I say by the near term, I would like to set a goal on a personal level and professional level. I would say let's set it at 100 days and move our way back and figure a way we can do this in the near term to make sure that this solution is solid, it's sustainable, and that this war ends and so that we stop the carnage. And I think that's going to be very, very important to do. It's going to be important for our national security. It's a part of our vital national interest, and it's also good for Europe as well, and the globe as well.
All right, General.
There's so much to unpack here. First and foremost, let's just acknowledge that these are campaign promises, that many campaign promises, not just by Trump, but even if it was Kamala Harris who won, or when Joe Biden ended up winning, or when it was Trump's first series of campaign promises, or even before him, Barack Obama. During these campaigns, the politicians, they all make promises that they know that they can't keep, whether it's the entire effect or it's just within the timeline. And so I acknowledge that. And one thing I will turn around and say, yes, it is a horrible war and it needs to stop. Not just the death that's taking place by Ukrainian soldiers, but also on behalf of the Russian soldiers. I don't want to see nobody should want to see this war continue. Now, why is it also important for us here in America? Well, think about the amount of money that is being spent in terms of providing Ukraine with a chance to sustain itself against the Russian military. It's billions and billions and billions of dollars. Now, we've all now seen on the news what's going on in California. We've seen some of the devastation that's taken place in Florida. We've seen the hurricanes and the tornadoes that have taken place in like North Carolina and Texas and another place. We are beginning to see this climate change scenario again and again and again on regular and with regular frequency. And why I say that this Ukraine scenario is so beneficial to America, think about all the money that's being spent on armaments and military. We need that money now to rebuild. I mean, Sanibel Island in Florida, still a complete disaster. California, they're talking about maybe $30 billion in order to just bring it, back to a place where people will be able to live. And it could take up to 10 years. I mean, think about how crazy that devastation is. And only 4 years ago, we were dealing with another California wildfire. But again, nothing can get accomplished in 24 hours. I want you to think for yourself for a second. Name something of any consequence that you've been able to resolve in 24 hours. You can't simplify what's going on there. You can't turn around and say simply because Donald Trump is going to be taking the office of the presidency that Vladimir Putin and other leaders around the world are now nervous and that they're willing to capitulate and they're willing to stop this, what's now going on the second year of this war in Ukraine, that they're just going to turn around and say, okay, that's it. I heard from Donald Trump. Everybody pack your shit. Let's go. Retreat. That's never going to happen. And the notion that people bought into that is nonsensical, which is why we then have to concentrate, for example, on what Keith Kellogg was saying. He wants to take a look at a timetable of the first 100 days. And that's generally, to those of you who don't know the relevance of the 100-day timetable, it's always after the first 100 days that they start to evaluate what the president has accomplished in the new term. All right. I also want to turn around and say that nobody, and I don't care what position that you hold, I don't care if it's your chief of staff, I don't care if it's Keith Kellogg, special envoy to Ukraine, nobody, and I mean it, nobody speaks for Donald Trump other than Donald Trump. And as a result of the statements that were made, there's no doubt that he heard from somebody in the camp, where Kellogg then goes on and he clarifies that he does not speak for Trump. Play that clip.
I don't want to divulge anything that the president says or doesn't say because he speaks for himself. I do not speak for him. We've had an opportunity to talk about it, and we'll have more after the 20th of January when he's officially the president, not president-elect.
Yeah. Let me be very clear. Again, knowing Trump as well as I do, probably better than almost anybody, Keith Kellogg doesn't have sustainability. Think about what he just said. I don't want to discuss any of the things that Trump said or maybe didn't say. So now you're putting words into his mouth. That's the first and fastest way to get shit canned in this administration. We've seen it going back into 2017 when they had that revolving door of different people who were nominated for various different positions, from the Sean Spicers to the Reince Priebuses, et cetera, et cetera. All right. That sort of language, that sort of behavior, it's never tolerated. This is the Donald Trump show and the Donald Trump only show. And when Keith Kellogg starts talking about, well, you don't want to divulge about what he said or that he didn't say, well, you don't put words into Trump's mouth. What you do is you listen to what he's saying. Now, you could, of course, use your own words to describe it or to explain it, but it needs to stay on message. And if hopefully that message is that he wants to see this war in Ukraine end, I'm all for it. Let's talk about another just very quick 24-hour scenario. He's going to have the hostages back. The Israeli hostages still being held in Gaza. He's supposed to have them back within 24 hours. Or, once again, before he even takes office, something else that I pray for every single day. My point being, my friends, all of that rhetoric, we all have to start ignoring it because it's all a bunch of bullshit. What we need to do is we need to be realistic. We need to set things out on timelines so that they are reasonable, and God willing, with maybe some pressure, maybe the fact that he is so impetuous and compulsive that maybe it will put some fear in somebody so that we can get the hostages back. We can put an end to this war and start concentrating domestically here on rebuilding our own country. Wouldn't that just be great? And as always, thanks for listening. Hey, everyone. First of all, thanks for watching. I mean, we're going to be posting daily episodes with reactions and talking about politics. We'll be talking about everything, in fact. So please like and subscribe. Join us on this journey.